Hi, welcome to Programming is Fun. My name is Enes, and in this tutorial I'm going to talk about all types of loops in C++. So let's begin. So loops are something in programming languages which allow us to execute a block of code several times. In certain situations when we need to execute a block of code more than one time, we need loops for that. So just for instance, suppose that you want to execute a block of code. For example, cout programming is fun 10 times. So it would consume a lot of time to write again and again cout programming is fun, cout programming is 10 times, and it will also take a lot of space while you are writing the code. So to reduce spaces of your code, make your code more attractive and readable and more sophisticated and more efficient. So for that we will use loops. So first of all I will talk about the for loop, then I will talk about the while loop, and after that I will talk about do while. And the fourth type of loop is the nested loop. So what is for loop? For using for loop, you have to write for keyword. Then first you have to initialize. The first step is an initialization step. So for that, and I am writing here I for initialization. It is not compulsory that you have to write I. I is not a keyword. I just means that initialization. You can write whatever you want. It will execute fine for you. Int I is equal to 1. I is less than. We want to execute it 10 times. Then equal to 10 because it will not end up on 9 because 10 less than 10 condition will be false, and then the updation or the increment state of the variable. Let me explain this for loop. This part is an initialization part, and this part is a condition part, and this part is an updation of the variable you have initialized here. So make a body of the for loop. This is the body of the for loop, and the body ends up here. Now you will see it will print 10 times programming is fun. Here you go. Programming is fun. And if you want to make output more attractive, then use \n over here. Then it will print every time in a new line. And if you want that it will also show which number is printing over that, remove \n from here and give the variable an I over here and write the n. You can also write \n for that. Now you will say it will execute programming is fun 1, 2, 3 up to 10. Here you go. It's showing that programming is 1, 2, 3. Similarly for numbers, you can also print numbers here. For that you just have to write the variable I over here. It will execute numbers from 1 to 10. Here you go, it's 1 to 10. So this is an initialization part, and it will only executes the one time. After that it will not be executed in for loop until the for loop will be terminated. It will only execute the first time. Then this condition, the for loop executes the block of code multiple times, and the loop does not terminate until this condition gets false. This condition will evaluate to be false, then the block of code inside this for will be terminated. Until the condition is true, the block of for loop will be continued. And this is an updation or incrementation part of the for loop, and it will increment or decrement the value of your variable. It is not compulsory that you have to write here I plus plus or plus plus I. You can make increment more, like I plus is equal to 2. Now you will see that it will only print 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 only, because the increment is by 2. Here you go, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So either you want to increment by 1, 2, 3, that's up to the requirements of the program. So this was the basis of for loop. Now let me talk about what is while loop in C++. So for that, let's make a program again for that. Print numbers, while. Now you have to initialize above the while loop. Initialize I is equal to 0. While I is less than equal to 10. Cout I and for the new line, and you have to increment it inside the body of the while loop. So let me explain this code first. You have to initialize the variable above the while loop, and inside these parentheses you give the condition of the while loop, and the increment or the updation of the variable will be inside the body of the while loop. But in for loop you write everything above the body of the for loop, but in while loop you have to initialize first, and then you have to give the condition inside the parentheses of the while loop, and you have to increment it inside the body of the while loop. So let's build and run this code, and you will see it will 0 to 10, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In while loop, it will repeat the block of code until the condition inside these parentheses evaluates to be true, and it will test the condition before the execution. Like for loop, it will test the condition first. Let's make it 100 less than equal to 10. No, it will not execute anything on the console screen. There will be no output on the console screen. There you go. Because it tests first. While loop tests first, then it will execute the block of code inside the body of that while loop. The initialization first, then the condition inside these parentheses, and then the updation of the variable. So this was the basics of the while loop. Now what is do while loop? So let's change this code to do while. Just copy it from here, paste it, and use semicolon at the end, and just write do on the top of the loop. So basically it will execute the block of code at least one time. It will test the condition after the execution of the code. It will not test the condition before the execution, like while. While I test the condition first and then execute the body of the while loop. But in do while, the body will be executed first and then it will test the condition. And if we build and run this code, this do while loop, then you will see it will print 100 one time, because it will not test the condition first. Let's build and run this code. You will see it will print 100. Because in do while loop, it will at least it will execute one time, and it is similar to the while loop, but the difference between the while and do while is that it will execute the code first and test the condition at the end. So this is the little bit different between the do while and while. While test the condition first and then execute the code, and do while will execute the code first and then it will test the condition. So these were the basics of for loop, while loop, and the do while loop. Now what is nested loop? You can use one or more loop if needed inside any of the other three loops. Let's make a program for that. So just like the nested if else, you can also use nested loops. You can use one or more loop if needed inside any of the other three loops for while or do while. So let's make a program to print a triangle like that on the console screen. So for that we need int space, which will print space variable, and then we need rows, which will taken from the user, and the third is temp. I will explain this temp when I will write the code. Cout, enter rows, cin rows. Now first, for initialization, I is equal to 1, I is less than equal to rows, I plus plus. Now initialization step initialization first, I is equal to 1. I will execute until the rows, means if rows are 5, I will execute 5. This loop will execute 5 times. So now I less than equal to rows mean this loop will execute until the rows are valid, and this will increment every time by 1. Now we have to make another for loop for spaces. Space is equal to 0, space less than rows minus I, and space plus plus. Cout spaces for that. Now what will happen over here? Spaces is equal to 0, space less than rows minus 1. For example, if the user enters rows 5 minus 1, for first time it will print the 4 spaces, then it will print the 3 spaces, then 2, and similarly up to the rows. And now we want to print stars. For that we use while temp not equal to 2 into I minus 1, and then cout star over here. So if you see here, first it will print 1 star, then it will print 3 star, then it will print 5 star. The number of stars are in odd. So for that, when I is equal to 1, 2 into 1, 2 minus 1, 1, it will print 1 star for the first time. Then for when I is equal to 2, 2 into 2, 4, 4 minus 1, 3, then it will print 3 star, and up to the rows it will print the stars. And always increment temporary variable by 1 so that it will terminate, otherwise it goes to the infinite loop if you will not increment the temporary variable. And after the body of the while loop, you have to make it again 0 for the next time, and in the end you will use cout handle, because every time when it will print spaces and stars. Here you see print the spaces and stars, then it will come to the new line. Now build and run this code. Let me comment this. This. Now you will see it will print the same star like it is in the example. Rows are 5. Now you see the stars on the console screen. It is showing the similar star triangle on the console screen. So whenever you have any need of nested loop, you can use the nested loop. So I hope that this tutorial was helpful for you. Please give me a like and subscribe and hit the bell icon for my further videos, and until next time, take care. Bye.